I'm Dale Mathis, and I am holding a Roland accordion. This is a digital instrument, and with digital instruments we can make all these amazing sounds, and all of this is today. But the thing I want to talk about in this theory lesson, which is I'm sandwiching in between lesson 2 and lesson 3 of my slow and easy accordion method, is how does all of this that we're doing today on these new instruments connect with what happened in the past, and where did music theory fit into this, and scales and chords and all this kind of thing. So I need to present a little bit of something to help you along, just like this Weensy Spider. When I play at the German restaurants here in Glendale, Arizona, when I see a table with little children, 4 and 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, I'll go up and ask them if they know that song, and hopefully their mom or dad will help them. Well, we all need something simple, something easy to get started with. And so the things that I'm going to talk about today are the connection with the music scale. I'm presenting a music scale for you rather than having you learn to play by ear, so that if you want to play with someone else, you have a common language that you can speak to them about, especially if they're playing guitar or another instrument, that you have a language that you can have a common base for understanding. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the grand scale and middle C, and where did all this stuff come from. And then the next thing that we're going to talk about is on the accordion we have these symbols. Well, actually on the digital accordions we don't, but on acoustic accordions we have these symbols, little round symbols on each of the registers, and they've got dots in them, and I want to explain what those dots mean. In other words, why when you hit one you get this low mellow sound, and when you hit another you get this tremolo sound, and what does all that mean with dry tuning and musette tuning and all of that stuff. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back, and what you're looking at right now is my Yamaha keyboard, and you'll see my finger here on this key. This is middle C. And what does that mean? For one thing, it has this pitch, an octave lower. You see the two black keys, an octave lower. So there's 8 keys between octave 8, and then if I go down another octave, down there in the lower C, and go up another octave. So we've got all these different octaves, and the middle C is you're going to see when I bring up my graph that it is in the middle of the grand staff, and so I'm going to explain that in a little bit. And then the next thing, as long as I've got my keyboard all set here, is in our lesson level 3 coming up, we are going to learn about doing this, or that's a 3/4 time rhythm or a waltz rhythm, or this one. You see how I'm moving my hand around? For a piano player, when you're learning to play piano, this is like 3, 4, 5 years into the program. And you see these guys that can do that sort of thing, the ragtime piano, I mean, that's years learning how to do that. On the accordion, we have a really simple thing. The bass button and the chord button are right next to each other, so it really simplifies all this accompaniment stuff. So to continue on with what I was just talking about, as far as the accompaniment in the left hand on the accordion, up till this point we have been doing this, where you've been using your middle finger to play the C bass note, that's the one with the divot in it, and the chord right next to it, and then we've been pushing them in together. You notice the curve in my fingers? You've got to get that curve or you'll end up doing this sort of thing. So and here's the G right above it. C, G, C. Okay, so all of this stuff we've been doing, but the next level, in level 3, what we're going to be doing is instead of playing those together, we're going to play them right after one another. And then when we go up to the G, so it's bass chord, bass chord. And you notice when I played on the piano keyboard, I had to have 3 fingers to get the chord sound, where the geniuses who came up with the invention of the accordion in the 1800s figured out that with one button you could open up 3 notes inside the instrument and you could get a chord sound. So this is the bass sound, and with just the one finger we're getting the chord sound. So by hitting the 2 as a rhythm, we could dance to that. So that rhythm is in 4/4 time, which we've talked about, and another time signature that is going to come up in the next few lessons is 3/4 time, where there's 3 beats in the measure. So then instead we're going to go bass, chord, chord, 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 bass, chord, chord. All right, so much for accompaniment. Now on to the next segment about middle C. Okay, so I've opened up my music writing program on the computer, and you'll see that I've got my little quarter note here bouncing around. So first of all, a couple of explanations. This entire thing here is called the grand staff, and for the most purposes for what I am teaching you, I would like you to learn the names of the notes on this treble clef staff. It's the upper one. But here's the thing. I want you to understand that this and this are not 2 separate things. So this note right here on this first ledger line, that's the line with, or the note with the little line going through it here. The sound of this one and the sound of this one, the first one above, the bass clef, they're identical. And the reason is because they are the same note. At one time, these 2 staff lines, or staves is the correct pronunciation, they were actually one thing. Instead of having 5 lines here and 5 lines here, it was actually combined and it was 11 lines. And so the one in the middle is middle C, and it got pulled out, and so that way you could have a staff up on top and a staff below, and that was to help simplify. There are some musical instruments that don't have the ability to play any notes down in the bass clef, and there are some musical instruments, like say a tuba player, everything is done in the bass clef, and all of their notes are pretty much in this area, where say a soprano singer, all of her notes, I'm assuming, it could be a boy soprano of course, all of the notes are up in this area. So here again is this thing, that this one in the middle of the grand staff, or if you're only seeing the treble staff, that one right below is middle C, and the one just above the bass clef, middle C. They are the exact same note. So let's just do some for fun here and get my eraser going and erase this rest and this rest. And now I can put more notes in. So there's C and D, E, F. Okay, so all of those notes are quarter notes. And you'll see here again in my time signature that there are 4 beats in each measure. One of the new things that's going to be coming up in one of the next lessons is a dotted half note. So that is a note that is the half note like this, but we're going to add a dot onto it, and it's going to look like, let's see, let's put it here. So that dotted half note, that gets 3 beats. So you can have 3 beats with a dotted half note, and then let's put a quarter note on there. That will fill up the measure. So get counted 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in the next segment of this little mashup of all things accordion and theory, you've seen these circles on some traditional accordions. And so welcome to my hand drawings. I was never an art major, so these all look kind of funky. But what this is about, these are the reed markings on your registers. So if you see this one, it is telling you that there is one reed playing, and it is actually what we would call true pitch. If you played the C on the middle C on your piano, and you played the middle C on, or if you turn this tab on your accordion and you searched around for the exact same note, you would find that it would match the middle C pitch from the piano. That reed is an octave higher than a tab marked with that reed. That's the bassoon reed, and it is an octave lower than that, so 8 notes. And back in the 1940s and 50s, in the heyday of the accordion, a lot of student accordions came marked with this one, which is a bassoon reed and a clarinet reed that you had together. And that was your typical 120 bass accordion. And if you had a really good one, like my first 120 bass accordion back in the 1960s, had this. It was a bassoon reed, a clarinet reed, and a piccolo reed. And that was pretty common to have those 3 markings. And they're 3 octaves apart. And then the German accordions and Austrian accordions and all that sort of instrument had markings like this, where you would have 2 clarinet reeds, but they weren't in the middle, like say on this one where there's 3. What this means is one of the reeds is tuned a little bit flat from the true pitch, and another reed is tuned a little bit sharp. So I'm going to do some demonstrations of that as soon as I'm done with this drawing here. So you may have musette sounding accordions, which, and again, that term musette just means that they are tuned out of tune intentionally to give you a pleasing effect. So you could have a bassoon reed along with 2 center reeds out of tune with each other, or you could have just the 2 out of tune reeds in the center of the clarinet reeds, or you could have 3. This is traditionally called the full musette. Or on 4-reed accordions, you can have this where you've got the bassoon reed along with 3 clarinet reeds. And depending upon how far out of tune they put these, that's generally how we classify if it's a French tuning or if it's an Italian tuning or an American tuning, is by over a period of time, tuners from different countries. And if you want something really out of tune, listen to one that's marked like this from a Scottish accordion. They are very far out of tune, and singing along with those things is darn near impossible. because you can't tell where the true pitch is. That's why when you want to do sing-alongs, here's a good little tip. If you're playing your accordion and you want to sing along, use one of these because it is in true pitch and it is easier for your ear to find where the actual note is. Where when you're playing with one of these, and especially if you're playing with a singer who has a pretty good sense of pitch, he or she might have a very difficult time hearing where the pitch is. Same like I was in college, pipe organ was my performance instrument, and for choral work you never used a registration, a pipe registration that was called celeste, which is intentionally out of tune, same as like these in the accordion, because it's difficult for a congregation or for a soloist to find true pitch. All right, so I'm going to be back with a few examples on the accordion of what some of these things mean. All right, so here I am holding the Roland digital accordion. This is an FR4X. And the first tab I'm going to hit here in this registration, I have it programmed to do a bassoon reed. So that's the low pitch, so it sounds like this. And you notice it has no wavering to the tone. An octave higher is this one. Let me put this one back on again. If I hit this note down here, watch this. I'm going to hit this tab, which is the clarinet reed, but play down here. And you get the same sound. And then if you use a bandonion setting on your accordion, which was the one with the dot in the bottom and one in the middle, I'll get that same sound of holding the two together with just one key. And then, as an example of musette, here's one reed. Here is multiple reeds tuned out of tune with each other. So that's where you get the wavering in the tone. And that's where the sounds that we enjoy for the French tunings and the European type sounds. Where if we're looking for a jazz type of accordion, there we typically just use the bassoon reed. And then one more, American polka, for example, the master that I've got set up on this accordion is where I've got a bassoon reed and several reeds in the middle, the musette reeds, and they're tuned slightly out of tune with each other, and we get. So that's just a basic tutorial in reed sounds. And one of the reasons why this is important is because in the upcoming lessons, I'm going to be asking you, when you're done playing the song one time through, to hit one of your registration tabs and play it with a different sound the second time through, just like an orchestra would switch off from the trumpet player to the guitar player to the piano player or whatever. And then, of course, when you're on digital instruments like this Roland, if I hit the orchestra section, now we've got a whole new ball game. And we got guitar players and trumpet players and who knows what else. So, all right, thanks for sitting through this theory lesson, but it really is helpful. When I was taking beginning accordion lessons, none of this made any sense. And it really wasn't until I became a music major in college that all of this started coming together. And as we go on with these lessons and classes, I'll be explaining more of this. And it really is important when you want to start adding your own harmony to music books a little bit later. You know, a lot of the things that we're doing, especially at this stage of the game, only have a single note melody in our music, where if you, like, this is a typical, oh, let's see, here's Spanish Eyes. Well, if I learn how to harmonize it, I can do this. Well, eventually, I'm going to teach you how to do that. So, I'm glad you're along with me for this nice ride. Thanks for watching.